guys, and welcome back to the Crawl Room. We're here once again in this wonderful ranty room for all things Formula One. So, the Singapore Grand Prix has come to a close, and what could be said about that one? It was alright, wasn't it? It wasn't anything special, certainly not the most exciting Singapore Grand Prix we've ever had, or the most exciting race we've had this season. It certainly delivered some spicy races in the second half this year. This one wasn't one of them, though. It's a little bit meh, wasn't it? But, you know, needs must. At least it's closed that championship gap up again. And, oh, my God, we've got a real fight up the front now. Yeah, all right, then. So if you've never seen this series before, I award the drivers out a maximum of 10 points based on their overall race weekend's performance, and I go all the way down to 0 if they have a particularly bad one. Take a look out for bonus points, though. There's sometimes enough of some drivers to do something extra special during a race, and on the rare occasion I do award minus points to those drivers to do something extra special, but for all the wrong reasons. Let's take a look at the current Crawl Room standings then going into this episode. It's on the screen now for you to take a look at. Have a look and see where your favourite driver is right now, and it's Charles Leclerc riding pretty at the top at the moment. You've got Oscar Piastri behind him, Nico Hulkenberg up there still as well. Based on how they went this weekend, maybe there could be a change at the top, who knows? Further down the field, of course, there's some undesirables and some drivers that aren't doing quite well at all. But Franco Colapinto, of course, down there representing what and doing what he can with the races he's got remaining in this season. And of course, Ollie Behrman's name will change to Kevin Magnussen's at the end of this episode. Let's take a look at the team standings as well then. They're on the screen for you as well. This is all preliminary at the moment. That's a big word and I like to use it. At the moment you can see the standings. There's minus points at the side though. They have not yet been deducted. So keep an eye on those minus scores because they're going to come off at the end. At the very, very end at the Abu Dhabi finale. And only then will we be able to crown a champion. So these are just sort of how they've done this season so far. Take the minus points off, though, for their poor performances and frustrating team strategies, etc. And, unfortunately, there could be some drivers and teams that are at the top there that could take a tumble. So, without further ado, then, let's kick things off with the race winner, shall we? Lando Norris from pole position and wins the race. Led every lap as well and was on for fastest lap, but Daniel Ricciardo said no to a Grand Slam. It wasn't worthy, Lando. It wasn't worthy of a Grand Slam. You may have led every lap, but God, you made it difficult for yourself at times, didn't you? There's not really much to talk about the race other than, pole position, fantastic, in a car that's good enough for pole position. He got pole, hallelujah, praise the Lord. He got off the line well, actually led the first ever lap from pole ever in his history of Formula One. Didn't lose a place to Max or others behind, praise Jesus. Managed the gap quite well for the first sort of 8 to 10 laps, and then the team was like, what are you doing pace-wise? I was like, I'm just chilling out, I'm enjoying myself. They're like, well, go extend it then, go faster. And faster he did go. Ended up, of course, with quite a huge lead over Max, but it went quite wrong twice, didn't it? And it could have been a race ending on both occasions. I'm not impressed with that whatsoever, especially when he had the gaps that he did. It wasn't as if he was pushing to increase the gap, then he made the errors. He'd already got the gap and then made errors. It was very, very frustrating. So the first one was, of course, at turn 14, I believe, where he locked the front inside tyre up, went wide, and just brushed the tyre wall. And that was lucky it wasn't nose in, needing a front wing and having to try and find reverse. That was incredibly lucky. And then later on, towards the end of the race, around lap 40 I think it was, he brushed the wall that George Russell hit last year on the last lap and took himself out of contention. He clipped that wall with the front and the rear tyre, so that was really lucky that he kept going there. He also had a bit of a shenanigans with Franco Colapinto as well, didn't he, right at the closing stages. Came round to lap him with just a couple of laps left to go. Dove it up his inside. Franco had already let him go, and he went wide, washed out wide, and then pulled back in front of Franco. He had to stop and lose a load of time, which was unfortunate because he was battling with the likes of Perez and Hulkenberg for a potential final point there. And so he made 3 errors in a race that was comfortable, which is still not very good, is it? Not very good at all. So the only positives I can take away from it is, he did lead every lap. He did get pole position. It would have been a Grand Slam had it not been for Ricciardo at the end. But by God, he was lucky this race. He was actually lucky to not DNF or cause himself a puncture or stick it in the wall and need a front wing. He almost lost that race twice, basically. So for that reason, it's going to be 8 points from me, and that is generous. And I'm aware it's generous, but he's getting 8 because I do think it still deserves praising for the gap he had over Max. But at the end of the day, You can't be going shoving it in walls and clipping barriers when you're 20 seconds ahead of your rival. Not acceptable. So yeah, 8 to Lando, that's generous by probably about 2 points, to be fair, because I was very frustrated, but I thought, no, fair's fair. Other drivers have gotten away with a little bit less or a little bit more this year. So, yeah, 8 to Lando. Frustrated by his actions this race, but at least it's a win. Oh, no, he does close that championship gap, doesn't he? Oh, shut up. Shut up. In second place, we come to Max Verstappen in the Red Bull. Wow, oh, wow, oh, wow. Here in P2, and we're happy with it. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? We're actually happy to see a Red Bull on the podium. This race weekend overall for Max, I think he got kind of a bit lucky that the Ferraris screwed themselves in qualifying, to be honest, because those Ferraris did have the pace at the end. So him lining up on the front row of the grid, absolutely great effort, but I think the Ferraris would have been up there had they not screwed up. But that being said, he qualified P2 and he stayed in P2. He had no one around him at the end. He got a 20-second plus gap to the Lando Norris ahead, of course. And the McLaren behind Oscar sort of looked like he might have been able to challenge him when he got past Russell. They were like, oh, we could catch him by about a second a lap and he'd be close at the end with the tyre offset, but as it was, Oscar's tyres had just cried enough, and I think he ended up about 20 seconds behind Max Verstappen. So Max was in nowhere's land, nowhere territory, quite happy just to sit there and pick up the points, which is exactly what he did. Damage limitation once again by Max. Yeah, he doesn't beat Lando, but he makes sure he doesn't take a huge chunk out of him. That race this weekend could have easily been a P4, P5 finish once again for Max, but instead it's P2, best of the rest category. Did a great job. So for Max Verstappen this weekend, it's 9 points on the board from me. Well done, great effort, good job. And has earned himself community service for swearing in the press conference. Oh, you naughty fucking boy, let me tell you. But yes, Max Verstappen, 9 points on the board team. Can't really fault a thing, to be honest. I just think there was more impressive drives throughout the field that deserve praising that we'll come to in a moment, which is the only reason why Max doesn't earn a perfect 10, which is what I did sort of last time with Alonso. So, yeah, cruel to be kind and all that lot, but Max Verstappen, 9 points to him. Hope you enjoy your community service, you little shit. In third place, we come to Oscar Piastri. What's your favourite pastry? Again, a driver that made it hard work for himself this weekend. Got it wrong in qualifying, did not get the lap together that he needed to. That should have been a front row start easily by Oscar, easily. Instead, it was a case of damage limitation, fight his way through the field, try and get past the slower cars, and also try and do an offset on strategy, which is what happened in the end. So on much fresher tyres, he was able to overtake the two Mercedes cars to get himself into that P3 slot. Again, Oscar screwed up qualifying, but was lucky the Ferraris weren't up there as well, because I don't think he'd have got around them. P3 is a great effort, but it should have been a P2, and he lost so much time stuck behind slower cars because you're not able to overtake, even with 4 DRS zones now at Singapore, which is crazy, isn't it? But yeah, Oscar made hard work for himself in qualifying, and he got the job done sort of with P3, but realistically the pace of that McLaren this weekend was a 1-2 finish for that McLaren car, and that's the end of that. So it's going to be 6 to Oscar Piastri this weekend. Not as good as Lando, of course. Did fight back quite well. Did have a good team strategy. Did have good pace in the car as well. But at the end of the day, should have been a 1-2 and wasn't. Difficult Saturday made his race all the more difficult on Sunday. 6 to Oscar. Finishing in fourth place, we come to George of the Russell. Watch out for that top 5. Well, here he is, finishing in P4 this time around, so congratulations to George of the Russell. Tried to hold off from Oscar towards the end there, but it wasn't going to happen. The tyre deficit was so much more different, and of course the pace of that McLaren as well. So yeah, a pace difference and then a tyre advantage. He was always going to get around, but did a good job in that sense. The only thing really to note of George this weekend that was a little bit, oh dear, was he was the only driver really to find the wall in free practice 2, wasn't it? He nosedived it in towards the end of the session, took his front nose off, but was clever in doing so. I've never seen a clever crash before in Formula 1, but that was clever because he was going to go like hard right, he was trying to turn right. The car understeered, but then rather than just trying to make the corner and rip the entire front left corner off, he actually straightened the car up just so he went in nose first. So that was quite a clever move there in a oh shit situation. So yeah, very happy with George in that respect, that he didn't manage to write the car off fully and didn't do any substantial damage to the car, was able to think about it mid-crash, straighten the car up, poke it in nose first. But still, a little bit of damage, a little bit unfortunate that he was the only one really to find the wall this weekend as well. So, unfortunate in that sense, but the race itself, P4, probably couldn't have done much better. Again, another driver I think that was lucky that the Ferraris had a shite qualifying, because without that they would have finished behind him. George Russell, of course, was trying to hold off from Charles Leclerc at the end and successfully did so. So yeah, good effort by George Russell this weekend. It's going to be 8 points to him, 8 points to George Russell. I think he extracted the most out of that Mercedes car that he could, and held off from Charles Leclerc on much fresher tyres towards the end there, which was a great effort, because Charles, on his way back through the field, managed to make light work of everyone. Got to George, he was a bit of a buffer, couldn't find a way around him. 8 to George Russell, cracking effort, great job. 5th place, we come to Sha-La-La. Oh, sacre bleu, sha-la-la-la-la. Qualifying, eh? Track limits. Got it all wrong at the first turn, really, didn't he? Track limits there. That lap was invalidated. Of course, he'd not set a representative lap time previously due to the crash for his teammate Carlos Sainz that brought out the red flags. So, once that lap time was deleted, P9 was all he was going to finish, and that is where he started. So, you know, P9 to P5, great effort. It is a good effort, and I'm not denying that. We saw some good overtakes. We saw him close up to the likes of Hamilton. He managed to get round Alonso and Hulkenberg, which was key to his race, even though he did it towards the end when people were struggling with tyres. The fact he was able to get around them all was quite lucky, because he was stuck in that train for ages, and that really impacted his race. Without those two cars ahead of him, that was going to be a potential podium from there. But again, qualifying should have been higher up, should never have seen the likes of Alonso or Hulkenberg in that race at all. He should have been up there at the front, fighting with the McLarens potentially, but I certainly think that the Ferraris had pace to be a 2nd and 3rd place finisher, or at least one on the podium anyway. There were 3rd and 4th material there if the McLarens had both got their act together and got a 1-2. So the fact that the first Ferrari here we're talking about is P5 for Leclerc, it is a good recovery, but it was a difficult qualifying, and he made that race a lot harder than he needed to by track limits, which is a rule that's been in for a couple of years now, and we know how it works. 4 lines over that white line, abort your lap, because you may as well, because you're not getting a representative lap time. And not only that, the lap that he did actually set was only good enough for P7 anyway, so he'd still been behind Hulkenberg. So yeah, it was a difficult qualifying overall for Leclerc after Ferrari showed so much promise. It's 6 from me, 6 to Charles Leclerc for this time around, because it was a great recovery, but it shouldn't have made his life that difficult. Should have been a great Sunday after a great Saturday, but it wasn't. It was just damage limitation once again. And yeah, P5, impressive effort, but nothing special. 6 to Sha-La-La. Next up, we come to Lewis Hamilton in the 2nd of the Mercedes. Yeah, this weekend by Hamilton, another lonely race weekend. A bit like George was, to be honest with you, at Baku, where we never really saw anything of him, to be honest. He was just sort of running his own race, running his own pace, in and around the likes of Russell, so, you know, kept within his teammates' area. Leclerc was able to get Hamilton, though. He wasn't able to get George towards the end, so that's the only really sort of thing that happened that was different between the two Mercedes drivers' races. Overall for Hamilton this weekend, again, did what he could with the equipment given. It certainly wasn't the best car this weekend, and again, another driver that was lucky that the Ferraris didn't quite have the pace. You know, Perez was sort of off again, hitting and missing, because I think they'd have been ahead. So, in theory, they're the 4th best team, but they didn't get the 4th place result, if that makes sense. So, for Lewis Hamilton, he finishes ahead of a Ferrari, finishes ahead of Sergio Perez. That's fair enough, I think, in my eyes. Just a couple of places behind his teammate George. It's going to be a solid 7 from me. Didn't really put a foot wrong this weekend, didn't put a wheel wrong. Was struggling in practice, to be fair, but seemed to find it in the race, was quite comfortable. And yeah, just a solid 7 to Lewis Hamilton for what was a solid enough race. Next up, we come to Carlos Sainz in the 2nd of the Ferraris. Smooth operator. Oh, not again, Carlos, not again.
Ah, Formula One. I spent more time at the side of the track than I did racing on it. 19 retirements out of 32 entries. Oh, and a cheeky disqualification thrown in for good measure.
And there we have it. It is Tora Takagi of the week. Oh, wow, oh, wow, oh, wow. What do we owe the pleasure, eh? Tora Takagi, what a absolute legend in the 90s he was. But yes, he has been awarded a Tora Takagi of the Week, has our Carlos Sainz, for that shunting qualifying that sort of impeded his teammate. Had to abort that lap, of course. And yeah, it was just a silly accident, wasn't it? He wasn't even on a push lap. He just let Lando Norris through to finish his lap. He came round the final corner, changed the setting on his car, and then just immediately lost the rear, lost traction, and shunted backwards into the wall. Lucky he didn't do a gearbox there, to be honest with you. That's the kind of impact that would do one, but I suppose the rear wheel was like 90 degrees that way, so it pulled the drive shaft and all the drivetrains out the gearbox as opposed to pushing it inwards. That tends to be when you have more of an issue. But yeah, it has to be an of the week to Carlos this weekend. You know, P10 in qualifying after a shunt was not what was expected of the Ferrari squad. And then in the race, didn't do as good a job as his teammate coming through the field, yet it was on a more compromised strategy because he had to fight and, you know, do pit stops around the cars that were around him at the time. But yeah, overall, Carlos Sainz this weekend, not a great weekend, and it is of the week worthy, I'm afraid. So unfortunately for Carlos Sainz, it is a Tora Takagi of the week to him. It's been a couple of difficult races, hasn't it, the last few for him. So yeah, I hope he all chins up, and I hope for Austin in a couple of weeks' time he can get his act back together again. But yeah, this one was a very missed weekend for Ferrari, and in particular for Carlos Sainz. And of the week to him. In 8th place, we come to Fernando Alonso in the Aston Martin. Two good results here by Alonso and the Aston Martin squad, of course. P6 in Baku, P8 here in Singapore. This one was more on merit as well, though, so be fair to them, it was a good effort. Lining up in P7 in the race was a great effort. Just behind Nico Hulkenberg, who also had a stunning effort as well in the Haas. Stuck behind Hulkenberg throughout most of the race, but then when it came to the first stint and first round of pit stops, the Aston Martin squad decided to go for the undercut on the Haas, which worked out well. By the time Hulkenberg pitted, he was around 7 seconds behind him because they tried to go then for the tyre offset. Once they knew that it was going to be undercut, they decided to go for the tyre offset, so he was around 7 seconds the gap. Hulkenberg did close up on Alonso towards the end of the race, but was unable to get around him and get through him, which is the difficulty that Alonso had on Hulkenberg in the first stint. So yeah, roles reversed. Alonso this weekend really didn't do anything wrong, did he? You know, you could say, yeah, maybe should have out-qualified a Haas in that qualifying session, but at the end of the day, finished ahead of it. P8, 4 points. The best he could have done, really. All the top teams finished, and he was able to hold on to an 8th place finish, fending off from the likes of Hulkenberg and Perez behind. So good effort by Alonso. It's a perfect 10 from me. Don't think it could be any less than that. I was a little bit harsh with only giving him a 9 in Baku. Here it is a perfect 10 from me. He did a great job. Another P8 finish on the board, some good points. Hopefully within these 2-3 week break now that they've got between now and Austin. Alonso said they were working on some upgrades that they were hoping to bring to Austin to get the car back into a regular Q3 contender and to try and start fighting with the lower half of that top 4 teams, you know. We've said before, Ferrari tends to have an off weekend every now and again. Mercedes have an off weekend every now and again. They want to try and fight for that 4th team that is having that off weekend, and they want to make sure that both cars get in the points. Both cars in the points. Don't be daft, Alonso. You can't put yourself in 2 cars, you silly fool. But yeah, for Fernando Alonso, a perfect 10 from me. Did what he could this weekend with the car he was given and secures 4 crucial points to Aston Martin's efforts. Doesn't really help him anywhere, to be honest, in the constructors, but makes him feel better, doesn't it? Makes him feel better. Perfect 10 to Alonso. And in 9th place, we come to Nico Hulkenberg. Oh, I needed that. So, Nico Hulkenberg this time around. P9, great effort in qualifying as well. P6, fantastic job. Like I said, I mentioned ahead of the 2 Ferraris already, but that still would have put in P8 even if the Ferraris would have been where they should have been. So got ahead of the best of the rest category and did a stunning job in doing so. Was holding up the likes of Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz at the start. Had the likes of Alonso chomping at the bit on him, but they were all unable to get around, and it looked like we were on for a really special result with that Haas car. I was expecting, if they could have kept going at the pace they did, and if the Ferraris started to get a little bit tangled up and twisted and trying to over-defend for other cars that they weren't really fighting with. You know how you've seen it with Ferrari strategies before where they react to a car that really isn't in their race. I thought maybe P7 was possible, to be honest. One slips through, but the rest get held back. But as it was, unfortunately for Haas, they went for this weird strategy where they tried to go for tyre life over track position, and that really did cost Hulkenberg in the end, unfortunately for him. It meant that Charles was able to slip past, it meant that Alonso was able to slip past, it meant that Carlos Sainz was able to slip past as well, and unfortunately that tumbled him down to this P9 position now, where he deserved a little bit more. I think, Hulkenberg and what he did this weekend was easily worthy of that 8th place, doubling the points tally from 2 to 4, and that would have been a big help in their fight against the Visa Cash App Maxi Tampon squad, because I think the gap now is 3 or 4 points, whereas it could have been 2 or 1 point. I can't quite remember how it goes, but yeah, it could have been a lot closer. And when you're squabbling over these final points-paying positions, that would have made all the difference. So yeah, Hulkenberg deserved the P8 finish as an absolute minimum this weekend. But unfortunately, it was the strategy that Haas gave him that put him out of position, put him behind Alonso, which he shouldn't have been behind. And unfortunately for him, P9 was the best he could have done. Did a great job to hold off from the likes of Perez and Franco Colapinto at the end as well to make sure it wasn't even less than those two. And overall for Hulkenberg this weekend, it's a perfect 10 from me. Well done to him. Well done. Fantastic effort. Can't fault a thing. He didn't do anything wrong this weekend and certainly had the pace in that Haas car to score some good points. 2 points is still a respectable effort, but maybe, just maybe, had the strategy gone his way, it should have been a P8. It should have been, but it wasn't. So yeah, Hulkenberg, redemption for Baku, and it's a perfect 10 to him on the Cruel Room. And last of the points finishers, we come to Sergio Perez, who is disqualified on the Cruel Room anyway, as I'm sure you're all already aware. So he can award no points, and I don't really talk about him, but once again, it's like he was Max Verstappen at Baku this weekend, isn't it? Didn't have the pace. Did they go for different setup again? Who knows? But whatever the reason, he was out in Q2, and here he is picking up a measly point, which is not good at all for their constructors' standings. To be honest with you, I think Ferrari are going to get them by the end as well, and they're going to be P3 in the championship the way it's going. So yeah, we'll see what Perez's future has to offer, but for now, it's a miserable 1 point to him again. Couldn't get around the likes of Aston Martins or Haas's. Very, very poor, but disqualified anyway, so gets no points. Securing P11 and 1 position away from the points in only his 3rd F1 race, it is Franco Colapinto in that mighty Williams car. What a shame, a weekend of what could have been for Williams. I honestly believe that Williams car had the pace that it had in Baku to secure both those Williams cars into the points. As it was though, both cars unfortunately knocked out in Q2 with P11 and P12 on the grid. Franco from P12 though did a mighty effort and a mighty lunge up the inside of everyone at turn 1. Got himself into P9, got himself ahead of the likes of Carlos Sainz, Yuki Tsunoda, his own teammate. Great job, Franco. And was in P9 then throughout the race until that first stint, where unfortunately they reacted too late to the likes of Perez and everyone else, to be honest with you. The Ferrari, obviously, of Sainz managed to slip back through again, and that meant that then, instead of being a P9, it was a P11. And P11, here he is to finish. It was a shame that he wasn't able to stay on the back of Perez and Hulkenberg. I'm not saying anything would have happened between those two, but maybe Perez would have been more desperate to try and attempt had Franco been with him at the end. But as already mentioned with Lando Norris, Lando went diving up the inside of Franco, who was rightly obeying blue flags at that point, and then cost Franco about 3-4 seconds because Norris went wide, then came back on the track in front of him, and he got bottled up behind him, and it was just very unfortunate to see that. And that gap was crucial then to mean that Franco was unable to challenge and put Perez under pressure, so Perez then wasn't under pressure to make a rash move on Hulkenberg, which could have netted him a couple of points at the end. Franco this weekend's getting a solid 8 from me, a great effort, matched his teammate almost in qualifying, just 7,000ths of a second away from being in that P11 spot instead of his teammate. The race itself, a fantastic lunge up turn 1, and then he did the best job he could to remain inside the points. The strategy didn't quite fall his way, and he was struggling towards the end as well, bless him, wasn't he? Complaining of cramping, and also wasn't speaking much on the radio, trying to conserve as much energy as possible. It's a grueling circuit with the humidity. It is Singapore, and when it's your first time here as well, in only your 3rd race in Formula 1, it's a bit of a baptism of fire, isn't it? But impressive nonetheless. P11, shame it wasn't a point. I think the pace of the car was a point-worthy car. but it just didn't quite work out this weekend for Franco or for Williams. 8 points to Franco Colapinto. In P12, we come to Yuki Tsunoda in the first of the Visa Cash App Maxi Tampon RBs. Don't forget your Alpha Tauri, your Toro Rosso, your Minardi. Of course you don't. Of course you never forget those. The historic and prestige of a Visa Cash App Maxi Tampon means that get Andretti fucked off. Get them nowhere near. I remember Visa Cash App Maxi Tampon when they were in the 1950s. They had Fangio as one of their drivers, and it just the heritage comes, just comes flowing through me. I get a warm, fuzzy feeling inside my belly when I hear Visa Cash App Maxi Tampon RB. Just really delicious feeling. So yeah, for Yuki Tsunoda this weekend, P12 finish, got himself in P8 in qualifying, but had a sluggish start off the line, which dropped him outside the points. Then from there, it was just very much damage limitation. Here he is finishing P12. The team really didn't help him in certain situations once again, but I'm not asked about that anymore. It's like Ricciardo's going, hallelujah, praise the fucking Lord. But yeah, P12 in the end. He sort of put himself in that position anyway, to be fair, by that sluggish start from a P8 position. Again, potentially, had he had the race go his way, he got off the line well, on the scrapes and the scraps of the points, could have potentially been a P10 finish here, because maybe the RB didn't have the pace over a race pace to score a point, but just by holding cars up with how difficult it is to overtake, could have warranted them a point at the end. But as it was, slip back at the start, damage limitation, try and claw your way back up, wasn't able to do so. And here he is finishing in P12, finishing the race on the soft tyre as well, so yeah, God knows. But yeah, it's a solid 7 from me for Yuki Tsunoda. I've been a little bit generous with him there, probably generous by a point, to be fair. Yeah, it all went wrong at the start for him, bogged down at the beginning, but still put in a good performance to finish ahead of his teammate. Had some good race pace, finished ahead of a couple of good cars as well, respectively. And yeah, maybe just a point wasn't quite worthy this weekend, but he could have made his life easier and could have made a point chance a lot more realistic had he not bogged down at the start. A solid 7 to Yuki Tsunoda. Finishing behind Yuki, we come to Esti Besti Ocon. Esti Besti to you, ain't like Esti Besti Ocon. Yes, there he is, Esti Besti. So, what could be said for his race weekend overall? Once again, Alpine absolutely nowhere, like they were in Baku. Q2 qualifying effort though for Ocon, okay. And here he is finishing unlucky for some P13, but realistically the best he could have done when you see the cars ahead, the pace they had. Yeah, I think P13's a commendable effort, to be honest with you. Didn't do anything wrong in the race, didn't see much of him. It's a solid 7 to him as well, to be honest. Can't really fault a thing, to be honest. It's just difficult to see where that car is at the moment. And, they've had a run a few points finishes leading up to Baku, where you scrape in 9th and 10th. You think, okay, that's the pace of the car. Then you get to Baku and there's no points. Then you get here and there's no points. And looking like there were no chance of points either. So, yeah, very unfortunate. Esti Besti Ocon, it's a solid 7 from me. Can't really give him any more or any less than that. A very lonely race, a very tough weekend once again by the Alpine squad. And yeah, we'll see what comes of them in Austin. Maybe they'll bring some updates. I don't know what they'll do. They might bring, 2005 Minardi back into the sport. Might be faster than that heap of shit that they're dragging around at the moment. But yeah, Alpine, solid 7 to Esti Besti Ocon. Next up, P14, we come to the mighty, incredible, sensational, delicious Canadian that is Lance Stroll. Fantastic effort, Lance. At least you didn't crash in qualifying this race, and you actually did take the start of the race as well. Hallelujah. Praise the fucking Lord. Amen. Amen. God bless you, Lance. God bless you. You've got Adrian Newey now. You've got Adrian Newey. Oh my God, if I was Adrian, I would tell him, Lawrence, look, I'm happy to take you 30 million a year. I'm willing to drop that to 15 million a year in wages, to be honest with you, if you could just get rid of your son. Oh, I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could ever take him out of Formula One. No, Lawrence, actually get rid of your son. Like, take him out with a rifle or something. I'm not interested in ever speaking to him ever again. I don't even want to see him in the paddock. Oh, okay. I'll give you 45 million if I get to keep my son alive. Deal! We'll take it. Great negotiating by Adrian Newey there, and that is genuinely what happened. Honestly, dramatic reconstruction, I know, it will like Crime Watch. But yeah, for Lance Stroll this weekend, shite again, out in Q1, nowhere near his teammate, blah, 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 blah. Did jack shit, did nothing, blah, 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 not interested. He's disqualified on the cruel room anyway. And since I've disqualified him, look how bad he's been doing. I told you it was due. And I put him down before he suffered on this series, and I maintain that. I maintain that. It's better to do it a week too soon than a day too late. That's what they always tell you. And this time around for Lance Stroll, everyone said, oh, a bit harsh that. Bit harsh that, getting rid of him at Monza. I don't think he deserved it. Well, look what he's done since. Jack all. There you go. So yeah, Lance Stroll disqualified anyway. Talked about him far too much. Let's move on. Next up, we come to Zhou Guanyu. Zhou Guanyu finishing in a mind-boggling, dizzying 15th place. Oh my, oh my. Disqualified anyway on the cruel room and has been for a number of races now. That tally is adding up since the last time he actually was awarded points here, and that was long overdue nonetheless. But yeah, Zhou, I'm not really interested to be honest. Both last in qualifying by quite some margin. Yeah, fucking hell. But again, you know, State kicked me up the arse Sauber. You just think, yeah, you definitely deserve a place in Formula 1 over the likes of Andretti and High-Tech and people that want to come in because just the prestige is there. Steak, kick me up the arse Sauber. Oh, delicious. So yeah, Zhou Guanyu disqualified anyway, remains that way, and yeah, finished ahead of his teammate again. Hallelujah, praise Jesus. Next up, we do come to Zhou Guanyu's teammate in the second of the State Keep Me Up There Saubers. It is Valtteri Bottas, who is escaping an of the week this weekend because he did genuinely have brake issues at the start of the race, so that's why he ended up losing pace, and I'll allow him that. P16 finish though. I mean, it's still nothing to write home about, is it? They also did team orders at the end. I mean, wow, fucking hell. Can you believe it? Team orders in the State Kick Me Up the Arse squad. Zhou Guanyu slowed down deliberately to get Bottas within the DRS window of his teammate so they could keep Pierre Gasly behind. Oh my God, I bet they were giddy and jumping up with joy on the pit wall. Can you imagine sitting there like, no, defend this position. Defend P16. You must at all costs. You must. I mean, why fucking bother? You're nowhere near the point, so I don't care if 10 of the cars exploded in front. You still weren't going to score anything. They were just that far out the order. But yeah, so they actually played a team game, a strategic game there for the first time ever this year. Wow, oh wow. So yeah, Bottas is getting 3 from me. I took a little bit of pity on him because he did have brake issues at the start. I think they said a visor stripped, got caught in one of the brake ducts temporarily, not enough to actually cook the brakes and set them on fire, but just enough that it impacted his front left, and he had to really reduce speeds going around corners, which knocked him back a hell of a lot, and that's why he had to have an early pit stop as well to try and remove it, but it had already come out. But yeah, at least they've confirmed it was out there. So yeah, Bottas 3 points this weekend. He's lucky he didn't get an of the week, but I will allow him that. But another lacklustre performance where he was beaten by his teammate and had to have his teammate's help to stay ahead of an Alpine. Wow, oh wow, that is shitely impressive, isn't it? As already mentioned, finishing behind Valtteri Bottas, of course, was Pierre Gasly in the second of the Alpines. It's 2 from me for him. Difficult weekend overall. Eliminated in Q1 and then was used as a scapegoat to try and build a gap for his teammate. So when he pitted, you know, a bit like the Haasers did at Saudi where Kevin Magnussen was the barrier for everyone so that Hulkenberg could score that point. That's what Gasly was doing. He was out there and out there and out there and out there and out there, and all the cars that had already pitted were already queuing up behind him. It was an entirety of a pit stop behind, and wasn't able to find any race pace from there. It was used as a scapegoat. Gasly wasn't happy with it, but what can you do, eh? What can you do? It meant that their golden child managed to get a P13 finish out of it. Wow, 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 how staggering. But yes, Pierre Gasly, a tough weekend overall. 2 from him. He wouldn't have been used as a scapegoat had he not had a poor qualifying, so I do blame him somewhat, but got to give him a bit of sympathy. Just a tough race overall. And then got tag-teamed by the Stake squad. Can you believe it? By the Kick Me Up the Arse Saubers. Oh dear, oh dear. 2 to Gasly. Then we come to the last of the finishers in the race, which was, of course, Daniel Ricciardo.
Driving in Tyrrell's final season in Formula 1 was certainly a bittersweet moment in my career. A once great team falling to the back of the grid and having to choose money over talent. Fortunately for me, I'm referring to my teammate that year. I wonder if he'll make an appearance on the Cruel Room this year.
And there we have it. Potentially potentially the final ever of the week that Daniel Ricciardo receives. A lot of rumours going around at the moment saying that unfortunately for Daniel Ricciardo it could be his last ever race within Formula 1. Liam Lawson will be taking his place from Austin onwards. That's the rumours at the moment. Probably going to be confirmed by the time this video goes out, but at the time of recording it's still very much a heavy rumour that looks realistic but hasn't yet fully been confirmed. Apparently Lawson's contract that he signed to be a test driver for this season when he didn't get the spot overall was that he was going to be taking part in at least 5 races within the 2024 season. That was in his contract, and of course we're getting a hell of a lot closer to the end of the season now. Daniel Ricciardo's contract discussions are after this weekend's Singapore Grand Prix, so it's looking likely. Ricciardo was very, very upset, wasn't he, at the end? He had a lot of emotion towards the end. I think he knows he's going. And I think it's a great shame that despite the fact that I have really not rated Ricciardo these last few seasons, I really don't think he ever deserved this chance back at AlphaTauri or Toro Rosso, whatever it's called, last year when he replaced De Vries. I didn't think he deserved that opportunity. I certainly didn't think he deserved to be in the car this year at all. I do still think it and find it a great shame that a driver of his calibre, a person with that personality, a lovely character, a lovely guy, I think it's a shame that he's not allowed to announce to the world that coming into Singapore, this will be my last Grand Prix this season and potentially forever. Let's go out and celebrate it. I think that's a shame. If he's been denied that, I will be disappointed. But we know what Red Bull are like, and we know how harsh the sport can be. So yeah, unfortunately Daniel Ricciardo, he's come from a really tricky situation from McLaren, was lucky to jump on the 2023 grid at all due to Nick De Vries's poor performances. However, I still think Nick should have had the season out, and this season got a seat that he didn't really deserve. Lawson should have been in there from the start, personally for me speaking, but now it looks like that road's come to an end, and Ricciardo, yeah, he's going to leave the sport with a P18 finish. A fastest lap where means that Red Bull had 4 cars on the grid that day today because, of course, they took it away from Lando. But yeah, a P18 finish, last of the runners, and just a fastest lap to show for it. For your last ever result, great shame, isn't it? And us not knowing either, us not knowing that it's his last race. So we'll see what happens, but I'm pretty confident that's what's going to happen. A great shame to see a legend of the sport go out in this way. But it's been long overdue. It should have never been picked up after McLaren. Yeah, it's just been difficult. But the only thing I would say is it would have been nice to give him a good send-off. I still think he deserved that and has earned the respect to get a good send-off. And if he doesn't get that, it's going to be a great shame. I mean, you've even seen him hugging Alpine staff and things, so, you know, which were formerly Renault. So I think, you know, it's happened, but just a shame you can't announce it until after it happens, and then he's got no one to celebrate his last race weekend with, has he? So yeah, he gets an of the week anyway because it was a poor performance out in Q1, and yeah, it was a shite race overall by him. But yeah, facts are facts. I'll miss Danny Rick. I'll miss the fact he wasn't given the opportunity to say goodbye even more though. Then we come to the first retirement on this list, the last to happen in the race, of course. It is, of course, Kevin Magnussen in the Haas. Welcome back, Kevin. Welcome back.
Switching to arrows for 1999, the season started strongly with a P7 and P8 finish in the first 2 races. What followed was a shit show of engine failures and accidents, rendering my F1 season quite literally pointless.
And there we have it. Toro Takagi of the week to Kevin Magnussen as well, of course. Welcome back, Kevin, indeed. What a shame this weekend once again. Kevin Magnussen, P14, that's sort of where he always qualifies, while his teammates on there inside the top 10 doing a great job getting into Q3. In the race itself was a running around P14. The entirety of the race we didn't see hardly anything of him at all, ever, really. Promising much, no. And then with around, 12, 15 laps to go, he tagged the wall, got himself a left rear puncture. And that P14 finish became back of the grid finish, having to limp round for pretty much an entirety of the whole lap with the puncture, and then towards the end of the race just decided to retire the car to save on mileage of it because there was no point, he wasn't going to get anything. It was pretty much 2 laps down by the time he got sorted out, so wasn't fighting with anything, and here he is, a DNF in the end. Of the week to him for that because it was a poor performance. a single Haas car now is fighting for the points. Kevin Magnussen, I know he had a week out, but you can't put that against him, can you? He's had plenty of races, and he said he were going to fuck shit up on his return and a clean slate to his penalty points, but all he did was fuck himself up this race, so that's a great shame. So yeah, Kevin Magnussen, a Tora Takagi of the week to him. Definitely gone at the end of the season, but maybe, just maybe, Haas are looking and going, can we stick Bourbon in? Shall we stick Bourbon in? He did quite well at Baku. Who knows? But yeah, for now, it is Kevin Magnussen. And of the week to him, I think he's nearing disqualification now. Is that his 4th? So yeah, he could get disqualified before the end anyway. But we'll see. But yeah, nonetheless, Kevin Magnussen. It is unfortunately a Tora Takagi of the week to him. And then last but by no means least, we come to Alex Albon in the second of the Williams cars. What a great shame for Alex this weekend overall. Didn't quite do enough in qualifying to get himself into Q3, lining up P11. He had the upgrades on the car, Colapinto did not, but it's always difficult to work out if the upgrades have actually worked this season, it seems, because obviously we've seen Red Bull go backwards with upgrades, Aston Martin going backwards with upgrades, Mercedes going backwards with upgrades as well at part of the season, so yeah, we'll find out, I'm sure, a bit more information in Austin if those upgrades actually worked and just that Alex didn't get the maximum amount of them, or if they're just a bit shit and didn't really work in the wind tunnel and didn't translate into actual racecraft and into race pace that was expected from the wind tunnels and all the measurements and things that they do. But yeah, unfortunately for Alex, his race really came undone at turn 1 where he said, yeah, Colapinto dive bombed. I had nothing wrong with the Colapinto dive bomb. I've got to be honest with you, he went from 12th to 9th in turn 1. Stunning effort. Alex got caught out by the bullshit around the corner that you have to go around that side of the bollard, and he lost a hell of a lot of places there. That's what cost him. Alonso went down there at turn 1, lost no positions, but when you're in that mid-pack you have to filter out and then filter around again. It was a difficult situation for Alex in that place and dropped him down to P15, struggling to get around the likes of Kevin Magnussen in the Haas there from that point on. And then did he do a first round of pit stops and then retire? I think he might have done, but either way, it was all over by then anyway. The car was overheating, suspected engine unit issue, which is a shame, and I'm not sure what they've got left in their pool, but that could maybe mean a penalty in Austin if they've detonated an engine. But yeah, nonetheless, a disappointing day really for Alex and for Williams. What could have been points didn't turn out to be anything close to for Alex, unfortunately, and it was the exact opposite of what they were expecting. So it's going to be a solitary 1 for Alex Albon. Out of the 5 he can get a retirement. The maximum retirement can get his 5 points, and 1 is all Alex is getting for a difficult qualifying, admittedly, where it should have been a Q3 appearance, and the race itself went wrong at turn 1. Tried to blame Franco where it was just racing, and then of course the overheating engine means that was that, unfortunately. So yeah, 1 point to Alex. Big shame this weekend. Hopefully bounce back stronger in Austin. So there we then, boys and girls, those were the runners and riders of the Singapore Grand Prix. Let me know down in the comments section, did I score any drivers too high, any too low? The updated standings with the scores I've just awarded are on the screen now for you to take a look at. Now have a look and see where your favourite driver is. The gaps at the top seem to be closing. Hulkenberg there doing really well once again this race weekend with a perfect 10 from him. Certainly helps him in his efforts. Kevin Magnussen takes the place of Ollie Behrman and immediately gets himself an of the week, which isn't very good at all, is it? And Franco Colapinto, yes, I know he will finish last of the runners, unfortunately for him, but he is doing an impressive effort down there. To score that many points from just 3 races is a great effort, and something that I don't think most of these drivers have done on the grid this season, especially the likes of Zhou before he was disqualified, Sargent before he was removed, Stroll. He's picking up some great points, is our Franco, and I'm sure he'll close the gap to the likes of Bottas, etc. ahead, but I don't think he'll quite get ahead of him. But nonetheless, a great effort by him, and yeah, the standings as always, tight as ever. Let's take a look at the team standings as well then. Those are on the screen for you now. I'm not going to tickle or touch any of these just yet. I can award, of course, bonus or minus points based on how I thought this weekend went for the teams and drivers. But this weekend around, like Ferrari, I don't think the Ferrari team itself did anything wrong. It was the drivers letting the team down. So they're all okay. But yeah, as always, provisional standings at the moment until we take those minus points off at the end of the season. Of course, a lot can change as well. I can add more minus points, or I can plus points and take some minus points off. It's all flexible. I can do what I want in the standings here, but I've just decided to leave them for now after it wasn't such a bad weekend by the teams. Thanks as always goes out to Dan Bartlett, formerly of Mushy Gaming, of course, for providing me with the scoreboard that you saw on your screen, for the driver icons in the corner of your screen, and for the intro as well. Without him, this series would be more pointless than it already is. And who can forget Dave, F1 Games PlayStation, for providing me with the of the weeks that you don't know, but you know you're going to love them. You know you're going to love them. It's a different one every week this weekend, and this series, of course, for the 90s theme that we've got going on in the series. And yeah, there's some good ones still to come, trust me. So thank you all so much for watching, guys. I'll see you all in a couple of weeks' time for the Austin Grand Prix. Look forward to it then. The season's hotting up. The crawl room is hotting up as well. We've got a lot more to go through, a lot more rants to come, I'm sure, and a lot more exciting races ahead. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and as always, much love.